before starting, I would also like to request all the startups to keep their mics on mute mode until and unless they have a question. They can always chat with the panelist as well as the speaker, or they can raise their hands and ask the questions during the session as well.
Welcome everybody, and good morning to all, one and all. So as Keyur already introduced you all to me, I am Harsiddhi Shah, soft skills trainer, image consultant and corporate trainer. And today, as you all know, we have assembled here virtually to learn more about teamwork. I hope more than you already know. All right. So my first question to all of you is, I hope all of you are either from your online, either from your houses, or maybe a remote area where you're staying right now, correct? Obviously, because of this COVID-19 pandemic, and I hope that's the case. But I wish all of you have a safe lockdown. With that in mind, let's start the session for today. My first question to you all is, has any one of you recently in the past worked with a team to generate an outcome or with a goal? If so, can one of you or maybe a few of you would like to share about it to me?
Yes, I have done that. This is Meenakshi here.
Yes, hi Meenakshi.
Hi. So we do have a task for team, and we used to share it with them daily basis. So we have trailers.
Okay.
We assign the work, and then one by one, once they are done with that, they used to put highlighter like green or some colors, and then we have a quick call again before end of the day, just to see that if they face any challenges regarding the same.
All right. So how was your experience on a personal basis, if you have to share it with me? So this is the process that you told us, right? How you were working for the team, how did the process go? But what was your experience? What were the problems that you faced, or you thought what could have been done better to achieve the outcome?
So when you communicate with your team, it plays a lot of importance in terms of facial expressions and all, and based on that, they can understand things really well. But as that part is lacking, we have to put an emphasis on very important thing by expressing through words. So that's where that's a key challenge wherein we can consider that themselves. Yeah.
All right. All right. So you think communication is one of the challenges that you have faced?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else who would like to share it with us?
Yes, ma'am. So, yeah, I'm Rahul here this side. I run a travel startup, Chal Kabira. And so this is like from September till month of January, I used to run a team of around 11, 12 people. And most of them were into sales, and it was in travel sales. And like the major problem I faced was into training salespeople, and then they leaving in 3 to 4 months. And most of them, because the sales being also an uncomfortable, like I don't know, but it's in market that sales is felt as an uncomfortable job position too. And also that the reiteration rate and everything is pretty high there. So I faced this problem, and I couldn't generate a lot of, I'll say, output from my sales team at all. So this was the thing I went through.
So why do you think weren't you able to generate the outcomes that you were expecting?
So A was like sales, A need a lot of training. In our case, we have to first do the product training, and then I also have to, because it's a travel related sales, also have to deliver them some tips and everything on travel related sales. And two is, so this consumes a lot of time. And two is, they don't stick. Like most of them being millennials. Also, I found that I was recruiting people from age of 21 to 25-year-old who are themselves looking, they are confused with their path of careers. So they are seeking more opportunities. So they used to leave in a period of 3, 4, like the maximum I could have was a 5-month a person who stick with my company for 5 months. So that was it.
So according to you, the age was an issue here for you?
Age also, I think right training also have to give more time to it. I don't think 3-4 months is a perfect time to. So this was some of the things.
Okay, okay. Great, Rahul. Thank you. Who else would like to share their experience with us today? Anybody? Okay. Then what I'm going to do is, using these two experiences, we are going to elaborate them a bit during the entire session, and we are going to understand how we could have done it better. All right. Now, one thing we need to understand is that for me to deliver this session and it to be like effective for you, you need to tell me what are your expectations from the session. So if there's anything that I have not put in my PPT, I'll make sure to address that point during the entire session. So anything that you would like to tell me that, Harsiddhi, this is one point that we would want to know more about, or this is something that I tried, but it did not work. So could you elaborate during the session? Anybody who you would like to give me the expectations?
So I do have like.
Yes, Meenakshi, yes.
Yeah. So how remotely we can make our communication very strong on those part if something can be done.
Okay, what else?
For me, I think this was the most important thing right now.
This was the most, all right, all right. Anybody else?
Mine would be, ma'am, to how to train a team well, and also that they ensure that they stick for a longer duration of time.
Okay.
Especially into sales, rest roles, I pretty know like that they can be outsourced, they can be.
So sales training is the one of the most important factors that you've been struggling with.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, I would really like everyone to speak up. Only Rahul and Meenakshi have been sharing things. I would be grateful if everybody can, bring out one or the other points which they are facing a problem with.
Hello, ma'am. This is Aishwarya here.
Yes. Hi, Aishwarya. Please.
Yes. So, ma'am, actually, I had this question in mind as to how can we assess the potential of, prospective people whom we can include in our team. So at this point, I'm still building my team. I'm a student entrepreneur, and the members who are in my team presently are a bit older to me, and they are already from experienced backgrounds. So for me, I find it difficult to give some, tasks to them and keep a check on how the progress is on the task.
So because of the seniority, it's a little difficult for you to understand how to communicate with them when you have an issue with their process of working, correct? All right. So I think these three are the most important factors, but more than this, I have a few more expectations that I had from this session of mine. So I am going to take all of them into consideration, and we are going to go ahead with today's teamwork study, okay? But first of all, let's have a look at how one of the excellent teams work in businesses, okay? So I'm going to share with you this video. I am not sure if you'll be able to hear the audio properly, but this audio is not so important. All you need to do is make sure that you are looking at the video and analyzing it properly, all right? So let's start. So that was the video, and I hope you all saw it and analyzed it. Did you see how there were more than 12, 13 people who were just there to make sure that that racer gets the perfect racing car during the break? And it is very difficult to do that within a few seconds because it is a car and you are going to fix the tires, you're going to do the air. If there's anything that has burnt or some electrical fault, the repairs, everything needs to be done, right? And you have the minimum time because you cannot waste your time and you need to give that time to the racer to finish first. So this is the best example of a teamwork which we need to see in our regular day-to-day businesses. But does that happen? Especially not in startups, correct? Maybe in big MNCs and corporates, but that does not happen in startups. I have not seen that. Rarely there are startups who have worked so much in cohesion. The person kya re, ab tera turn aa gaya, tu laga le apna nut and bolt, mera kaam ho gaya. Without speaking a word to each other, they finished the job. That is the kind of team you would want to build in your startup, correct? So, and this will not happen alone. The most important thing is that this will not happen alone. So you need a team because startups don't work alone, correct? So we need to understand that there's nothing like a solo entrepreneur. You have passion, I understand, but you need to have passion to succeed, first of all, right? So whatever idea you have chosen, you are going to hire people to do it because you cannot do everything. Now, I am not a person from science background, but I might think that there is a way of developing the COVID-19 vaccine, right? So let me hire someone who can actually do it, and I will make sure that it reaches to a successful outcome. That can happen. So I can always be the person who executes it, but somebody who's actually doing it. All right. So it's very important that whoever you are hiring, they need to be risk takers. Correct. But understand this, सब risk takers मत लेके आ जाना please अपनी team में, because अगर सब risk लेने लगेंगे तो आपकी बात कोई नहीं सुनेगा और team पूरी बिखर जाएगी. So no business is ever taken off based on an idea, correct? It is the execution that transforms an idea into the success and the capable team, correct? So what are you going to do? Understand this. You want to build a team that's capable of accomplishing things instead of just spouting off ideas. So before you think about anything else, consider candidates for the hard skills that they possess. Why the emphasis on core competencies here? Now we understand that we need soft skills also, but the first and foremost requirement is the hard skills. So if I need someone who can create a vaccine for COVID-19, he needs to know the scientific background of how to do it. He needs to have some experience and he needs to be capable enough to take those steps to do it, correct? See, core competencies are important because in startups, you never know when suddenly you get an opportunity and you have to do everything overnight. There would be days when you're just sitting at home and thinking, yaar, ye kab jawab dega insaan ki main aage kuch aur kar sakun. I have applied for this funding, that funding, nothing is happening. And suddenly there comes a call कि आप कल मुझे सारे documents दे दो तो आपका funding हो जाएगा. So the documents need to be made ready overnight. So the pace of a startup is very fast. That's why you need people who have hard skills to execute and actually complete that phase for you and not make you wait and let the opportunity go. All right. Challenges get thrown at you at every turn. Perhaps that's why there's been a significant decline in startups over the years. There has been because of this reason. It is imperative that you have team members with the agility to deal with problems quickly and efficiently. With the competitive nature of business, you also need people who are resourceful. That's why hard skills come into play. The ability to innovate and to come up with creative solutions is a critical asset for you. Many entrepreneurs wait until things go wrong, then scramble to get to it and fix it, or maybe hire someone. Think about the potential challenges from the outset. Build a team that can handle whatever comes your way. There has to be a few risk takers, but only in those categories where you think risks are going to come. Rest all is fine. All right. So don't hire everybody a risk taker, but yes, you need a few of them. Now, the third is don't build a team for startups. Understand that you need a team that is not meant to just run a startup, because you're not going to stay a startup for a long time. This is just a temporary phase for you. All right. So what to do? Now, why this? Because it is statistics show that 20% of startups fail during the first year, 34% fail during the second year, 50% during the fifth year. And you never know how many years you're putting into this. So make sure that you build a team which is able to run a business, not just a startup. All right. While it's true that many businesses don't make it past their initial phase, that's not what you want your trajectory to be. Don't let this discourage you. You can have a business that remains viable for years to come, but it's important that. Now, what exactly does this mean? All right. Now, see, how will you do this? We understood that this is what we need to do, but how to do this is very important. So just try and understand the program that's there in front of you. Build your team with the entire organization structure in mind. All right. So first start out the structure that your organization will have, not right now when it is a startup, when it becomes a business or a company. All right. Consider the long-term vision for your business. What is your vision as of today? When that vision is executed to its success, what would be the organizational structure of your company? What are the roles and responsibilities that you would want in your company to be there? All right. So write down those different departments that you will need to bring that vision into reality. For example, it can be design development department, or account and finance, research and development, sales and marketing, human resource, customer service, IT and support, etc., etc. It can be n number and it can be the least numbers. It's up to you to decide. Once you have done that, all you need to make sure of this that you want right now to start this towards the successful trajectory. That's where your current startup team lies. As you can see, there are two circles in this pictogram, correct? The first one is the minimum that you have, which is nobody, just yourself and the least resources that you can collect, right? And the second circle, the greenish one, is the viable, the maximum that you expect to be. So you need to combine the two, and the one that is the minimum viable that you're getting, कि इसके बगैर हमारा काम नहीं हो पाएगा. Hire those people in your startup team at first, because that means they are the essential key to your product or service deliver. Understood? Any questions here? Okay. See, this exercise is simply about mapping the architecture of your business. Bear in mind that you don't need it every possible function, at least not in the beginning. You need to chart out the important functions and hire the member for it. The least important ones can be done by them collectively. Think about the functions that are necessary to minimally give life to your startup. When you have that laid out, the people who would be leaders for each of these functions, those are the ones that you need to hire. So the ones that you hire will be leaders when your vision is successful. Understand that. And hire those quality of people. All right. So let's move forward. The fourth point is obviously customer is the king. So customer service is very important for business. I know it's changing that not only a customer is the king, but we'll come to that later. All right. So customer service should not only be the sole responsibility of one department in your business. Every team member should be driven by it. So whatever team you're hiring, it's very important that each and every member, whether they are directly going to communicate or not going to communicate with the customers, very important to understand and make them understand that customer service is my priority. All right. Every team member should be driven by the desire to do a right thing by the end consumer. Revenue makes all the difference. We all know that. You should be thinking about the numbers, but if you can build a team that always places your customers front and center, you will have no trouble meeting your revenue goals. This goes for established businesses as well, but it's even more crucial for a startup because you don't have the backing of finance with you. You are based and you are dependent on the revenues that come in the starting itself. So you need to make sure that your customer care is at the utmost, right? And when you're just starting off, you may not have the resources to address each and every aspect of customer service, but it's very important that you define your aspects and make sure that you actually prioritize them. Like, for example, the most important aspects about customer service that customers feel they expect from a company are that whether customer service is honest or open, clear and trustworthy, nothing is hidden. First, that's the highest priority. Second, it's efficient, quick, and responsive. Third, it's knowledgeable, skilled, competent, provides sound information. It's effortless, simple, easy, and intuitive. Fifth, it's personalized, tailored to circumstances, accommodates my preferences. Sixth, it's enjoyable, fun, entertaining, and pleasurable. Now, let's take an example of a cosmetic brand, right? For example, let's take an example of cosmetic brand for men, Beardo. Now, you know that Beardo is actually making a lot of billboards and making a lot of ads about their products. But would you be happy to buy a Beardo product if it does not tell what it does for you or what are the ingredients that it includes in the products, or if it does not make sure that its products are of the quality that they are claiming it to be? So these are a few customer service requirements that we all expect from a company or a service, a product or a service. So thinking that in mind, think from the point of view of a customer and chart out which are the best characteristics of customer service that you can give and make sure that your team knows about it. So it's very important that the team has to be ready to provide that customer service to the customers, right? Now, the fifth point is very important: invest in a recruitment agency. 4% of recruiters don't use social media in the recruitment process, and 4% aren't sure. But the 92% of recruiters that do use social media cast a wider net than ever. And why is that? Now, see, understand, when I say recruitment agency, it can be an online recruitment platform like LinkedIn, or it can be an actual real agency rather than the virtual ones that are online. But it's very important that you hire them to build your team. Now you might think कि ये थोड़ा costly हो जाएगा, हमारे budgets वैसे ही कम हैं. But imagine that if you don't do this and you hire someone on your own and you for a few months, you have taught them so much, and now they leave your company because they मुझे ये नहीं करना और I'm not interested, या फिर मुझे कोई better option मिल गया, या ये काम तो मुझे करना ही नहीं था, अभी मैं free बैठा था इसीलिए मैंने join कर लिया. So then those 3-4 months of efforts that you have put after the person and the salary that you have given the person, when you compare that with the amount of the small portion that you're going to set aside from the budget for the recruitment agency, you would think it's better to hire a recruitment agency, right? Because understand, posting a job listing on a job board won't cut it. That's not enough. I highly recommend that you get help with building your team. You can consider hiring a recruiter. Time or ability to find the right people. The cost may be well worth potential gain higher than the cost. A social network like LinkedIn is perfect for this. And I've seen that people have succeeded with just hiring from LinkedIn, but you can use other hiring agencies also. In fact, 87% of the recruiters use LinkedIn. One of the very good statistics that you can base your research on. The sixth is discuss your vision with the team. So it's not just important that you explain them services for you. It is also important that you discuss your vision with the team. Because unless and until they know what you're aiming to achieve, it makes no sense for the team because they don't have a goal in front of you. And if you don't know where you're going, you're just wandering around. You're not traveling. So you can't talk about startups without discussing vision. An essential part of success in business is crafting a vision and selling your team on that big picture. अगर अपनी टीम को तुम अपना विजन बेच सकते हो तो फिर किसी को भी बेच सकते हो. Understand that. Some businesses prefer not to communicate that ultimate goal with their teams. But considering that a whooping communication team is not invested in that grandeur vision of yours, you will have a hard time keeping employees motivated because this will help. This is one of the ways of motivation also. But if you want star performers who over deliver, you have to get your team to buy into your grander plan. Let it be their vision too. It's not just yours. I promise you that it will perform and it will transform into success. Factor if you want to attract the best talent, because some people are not here for money, they are here for building something that they will be remembered by. So if your vision is something that they believe in, they would want to be a part of this success trajectory, right? The reality is those who are at the top of their game won't be short of employment options. The ones who are good, they can get a job anywhere. Why come to you? In these cases, having a compelling vision and culture of organization can make all the difference. Excellent candidates are looking for more than just monetary benefits. Trust me, they'll consider what you stand for and your leadership style. So that's very important. What does this mean for you? So before you even set out to hire a team, take time to craft a company culture. Like I said, list down the departments, how they'll be running, how the organizational structure should be. It will be one of your greatest weapons when it comes to hiring extraordinary talents. So try doing that. Now, the seventh one, and this is very important. If you remember the video that we saw before this, the second team that had conflicting members, right? Now, these conflicting personalities are not going to stay together for a long time. So you need to understand that the team that you're hiring should not be such where everyone is a risk taker or everyone is a follower or everyone wants to be the leader. That way it will not work because most of them are going to quit after a certain period of time. And it is very true that 51% of employed workers are either actively seeking or open to new job proposals. They're already there in the market. They are open to it because they know that maybe this is not working for me. So make sure that your company works for them. It is the onus of that is upon you and not upon them. And how to do that? So make sure that you're not hiring conflicting personalities. Now, how will you find that out? Again, I would recommend you to go back and learn from the Johari window, what kind of personalities they are, right? Now, okay, I'll talk about that later. All right. Also, when you're talking about conflicting personalities, you should also be aware about similar kind of people, right? The ones who think the same, because then there would be no creativity in the team. And there's no creativity in the team, there's no growth. And then there's no growth, so the startups fail. So it's better that you remember that too and hire accordingly. Next is hire slow and fire fast. Very important. Don't jump into hiring a person. So there is a startup called Zappos. Now what do? They hire a person and they give them an option that you can leave this job within a week of your hire with a $2,000 rupees, $2,000. That's their way of quickly getting rid of people who don't fit into the company culture. But not all of us have those resources, I understand. So we cannot go for such creative tricks. I understand that too. But Here's how the hire slow and fire fast mantra can be applied. Don't settle for someone who's not the right fit for the team. Take time to consider the people who you are bringing on board. If you just hire someone that you haven't thoroughly evaluated, it will end up costing you more, right? 41% of the companies surveyed say that a bad hire in the last year has cost them somewhere around $25,000. Now that's a huge number for startups like us, correct? You're not going to spend more time and money looking for a replacement. You can easily avoid that by spending a bit more time with the recruitment process. That's why please make sure that after you recruit someone, you actually evaluate them, build a team rapport with them, hire a recruitment agency to helping you hire the right person. What's the fire fast all about? Think about it. If you notice a team member is a bad hire, now once you have done all of this, still you find out कि ये बंदा फिर भी सही से काम नहीं कर रहा, इसका क्या में मजा नहीं आ रहा, इसको बोल रहे हैं वो समझ नहीं रहा. What's the benefit in waiting months to pull the plug on that? They are going to keep making mistakes after mistakes. The cost can be devastating for you. So you will spend more time and money cleaning up messes rather than actively growing your startup. That's why it's important to fire them as fast as you can. All right. Ninth, be a ringmaster. वो रिंग मास्टर होते हैं ना, चाबुक लेके सर्कस में परफॉर्मेंसेस दिखाने वाले, वैसा कुछ. Not exactly that. I'm not asking you to take a hunter and whip, but you need to ensure that each performer works together to create a seamless show. Now, when you know what the individual traits and goals of your team members are, you can be more effective leader. That's what I mean by a ringmaster. Team rapport is essential for building the momentum that is needed to grow a startup. A staggering 97% of employees and executives believe that the lack of alignment in a team impacts the task, project, or outcome. It's can perform at their best.
I'm sorry,
Harsiddhi, can we move forward?
Your voice cracked in the last few seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. So can you repeat again the last sentence? Yes.
Yeah. So I was just asking whether anybody has any questions up till now. We can move forward.
I think the audience have asked 2 questions.
Hello. Can everybody hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it in the chat bot?
So one is in Q&A, how to be more convincing in an argument. And the second is in the chat bot. I would ask you how to keep.
Yeah, if you could just.
Yeah, I would speak it. How to keep the team engaged. So this is the second question.
Okay. So when you're talking about how to convince argument, right? See, understand, when you start or when you have a goal of convincing them, you will never be able to convince them. That is not the way it works. When you want to make sure that the team understands your point of view, because you are a different person and they are different personalities and characteristics altogether. So you cannot expect them to listen to everything that you say. So you have to logically put your point forward first. Second, along with that, you need to listen to them. Listen, and listen is the key to convincing a person. So you need to listen every argument, every valid point, every logical statistics, facts that they make to you, trying to tell you that what you are saying is wrong. Correct? And unless and until you are confident about what you are saying, the other person won't be confident about. सिर्फ ये बोलना कि अगर कोई मॉडल सुंदर दिख रही है तो उसको हम एड में ले सकते, प्रोडक्ट सेल करने के लिए is not an argument. It's just a statement that you feel will work. So you have to make sure that there are points that you have made rightly, and you are not trying to convince them. You are just starting a discussion with your team and trying to decision from that. It might happen कि आपका point of view change हो जाएगा after that discussion. So never set forth a discussion with thinking कि आज मैं इनको मना लूँगा. That will not happen, trust me, because everybody has a very strong personality. Correct? कभी-कभी में कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो गलत point of view के साथ ही आ रहे हैं. You might be right, but they are not agreeing to listen because they think, अरे ये अपने आप को क्या समझता है, बॉस समझता है क्या कंपनी का, मुझे इसकी बात माननी ही नहीं. Also happen, and the argument will not be accepted, how much ever valid or logical it is. That's why it's very important to make sure that you build the right team. Now, when it comes to the aspect of communicating, when you are if you are trying to lead to a decision, it's very important that you give proper respect, talk with respect to the person, listen to that point, their point of view, explain why you think this will not work. ऐसे मत सोचो कि यार मैं बॉस हूं, अब मैं इनको जवाब दूंगा क्या कि मुझे क्या करना चाहिए और क्या डिसीजन लेना चाहिए. Yes, you will have to, because you are not the only person who is running this company, because without them, you are nothing and the company is nothing. They are a very crucial part of your business, of your startup. Okay? So I hope point of view clarified and your question is answered. Is it? What was the second question, Keyur?
So second question was to how to keep the team engaged effectively.
All right. Engaged effectively. All right. Now, this question will be answered in the second part of our PPT. So let's move forward from here. Let me finish the last point, motivation, where we'll also be answering a few engagement tactics. And then we'll go to the organizational structure where you'll come to know how to make sure your team is engaged in the work they are doing. Okay. The last point that you need to make sure works for your team is carrot and stick story. Now, as you can see in the picture, and we have all heard about the carrot and stick story, we know that motivation is the key factor to the way you want, or is actually engaged and is putting all their hand, mouth, toe, everything, legs into the game and making sure that you succeed. Right. So motivation is the trick. But what are the ways of motivation that you think can work for a team? Can anybody share those with me, please? How can you motivate your team?
By giving perks.
Okay, so monetary motivation, obviously. What else?
Other perks as well. It can be possible, for some of the, surprise leaves or vacations, picnic.
Okay, true. So we have all in our school studies, we have heard about Abraham Maslow's theory of hierarchy, and we know the hierarchy, the way it works, and that's also a way of motivation. But in today's world, is it working, especially for startups? No. Why it's not working? Because every member in your team is not looking for money. Understand, every member in your team is not looking for the basic needs. That's not why they are here. Everybody is looking to do something creative. They are looking to be recognized as someone who has done something without which the business wouldn't have reached the position where it is. Correct? So motivation means separate things for separate people. When we are talking about motivation, we need to understand कि अगर आप ये बोलोगे कि तुम इतना business ला दोगे तो मैं तुमको इतना percentage of profit दूंगा, that's not the only motivation that people want these days. Especially people like you who are listening to me. Are you going to only work for money in a company? No, you would want to do something different, something that can make an impact in the society. something that people will remember you by. Maybe that is also one of the motivations that works for you. So when you're asking me how to keep a team engaged, you need to make sure that you provide them that kind of an atmosphere that they are willing to work more. They are not just there कि हाँ आज आए सुबह को आज का to-do list है, to-do list complete किया and then we are back home. That's not they are there for. You need to make sure how more can you extract from your team. That's the kind of environment you need to create, and how we'll do that, I'm coming to that. All right. So now, once we have hired a team, it's very important for us to understand how to build an organizational structure for startup. Now, how many of you are management students here? I hope most of you are students, right? How many of you are management students, and what are the kinds of organizational structures that you have studied about or heard from someone or read about that people are engaging in their companies? Anybody?
So on the panel, we have startups and on the attendee sides, we have students and faculties from different domains.
Okay. So if anybody can share, even if the startups can share with me what are the organizational structures they are following as of now, that would be great.
So I think all the startups are, having almost 10 to 15 maximum, team members currently. They are at very early stage.
Okay, early stage startups,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So what we can do is, let me tell you what are the basic ones that most of the companies are following or that we learn about even in schools, and the easiest ones that you can follow. But whether they're working or not, we'll talk about it, okay? So the basic ones that we are following are functional or operating, frameworks, where you divide your team according to function, that this is the tech team, this is the finance team, this is the product design, product development, that way. Then there is cross-functional, where two teams are working together over a certain project or maybe through the life cycle of the business. And there is the third kind of structure, organizational structure, which is called top executive structure. वो हमने triangle पढ़ा होगा school में. Top executive, then managers, then middlemen, then supervisors, then employees, and then laborers, the lower level ones. So that's the top executive structure.
So
But
Dr. Mamta has, written
yes,
answers, functional, metric-based, product-based, and team-based structures.
can you repeat? Where is the question?
On the,
On
it's
the
not the
chat.
question, it's the answer that you asked on based on what kind of
Okay,
structure.
I have been, I think, missing out on
It's in the chat window.
Chatbot?
Last one.
Okay, let me
Functional.
on that also. Who was telling about this? Harshvardhan, is it?
No, Dr. Mamta Brahmbhatt.
Okay. And she said, can you repeat?
Yeah, she said that the types of structures, they are functional, matrix-based, product-based, and team-based.
Okay, yes. Yeah, so similarly what I said, like matrix-based, product-based, team-based. Functional will include the matrix, product, cross-functional teams, and then top executive structures. Now, these are the very basic ones that we all know about. But do we execute that in startup? Are they helpful for startup? What do you guys think? I would really like somebody's input here, because I don't know whether I'm getting through to you in what.
Your voice cracked. Harsiddhi.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Can anyone tell me which of these structures are they implementing in their startups, or they are not using any of these? Is it? What is the scenario?
So anyone from the startup side would like to
Yeah, please.
share?
So back like when I used to manage my team, like basically my product development part was already sorted. So I was focusing more only on sales and some social media marketing. So I just had not many departments, and most of the work, important work, I was only forcing, and operations I was only looking after. Sales also I was only doing, and I like there was only 2-3 departments. I'd say there was not major departments. There was not
So
also
basically,
not.
it was a departmental structure.
Yeah, I was trying for a departmental structure.
So was it working for you, Rahul?
Ma'am, so this is departmental structure and everything. I think I am also in a process where I'm trying to learn how to manage and experience how to manage a team. Most of the things I found in my experience was that most of the things I was only doing. Like I think my team was
Solo
focusing on
entrepreneurship.
solo entrepreneurship. In spite of having a team, I was spending most of my time like into sales. Like the maximum conversions were happening through me and one more person. That's it. The rest of the team was not able to generate the output, and only those technical skills which I couldn't do, I used to get it done from my team, and then I later on decided I'll completely outsource on.
Right. So did you try to change the structure, try to put those people in other roles which maybe they would have enjoyed?
I tried that, and but again, the skill sets and everything are such that they become a new intern or a joinee there. So if you change their roles, they have to be trained again. They have to go through that cycle again.
Right. Right. So maybe there was a lack of many things, a proper kind of motivation.
I think most of the thing was I was hiring at a time, like I found I was hiring at a time which was my peak business time. So I should have ideally done it prior, not during my business time. I was not able to give enough time, and like hiring itself is a process. Like this my experience. It says that it takes many months to train them and build that company structure. In my time when I was doing it, I was doing during my peak business time, so it definitely didn't give me returns.
वो प्यास लगी तब कुआं खोदने जाएंगे तो फिर थोड़ा नुकसान तो होगा ही.
That should have happened previously, like many months back.
Before. Correct. Thank you, Rahul. So what actually I learned from the experience that Rahul shared with us is that these monotonous structures of organization that we have been learning about, and companies and corporates, MNCs have been following them since years, and not years but decades, are no more valid. Definitely, they are not working, because before it used to be a role that you are hiring. Now you are hiring a person. There's a huge difference. Contemporary businesses are facing a new generation of workers who do not want to work in hierarchy. The flow of knowledge required in successful businesses simply doesn't align with slow, restrictive style that hierarchies necessitate. So a mode of conducting empowers them to, I think, the correct mode of organization, correct? So even some with the ironclad structure of military, where you think that there has to be an organizational structure of top to bottom employees, framework. There is Major Kevin Dabler, commander of the 689th Network Operations Squadron of the US Air Force. He says that today's military rank structure is centuries old, and it is not suited for our modern conflicts because people have become way more before. So increased, so there are a few different organizational structures that we can try on, and they are not like anybody has designed or, specially made, but these are the structures that various startups have started and tried to implement depending on what their team needed, what their startup needed, the process that they were working with needed. and try to implement and change and implement and change and implement, like an iteration of organizational structure, and come to a final conclusion that maybe this can work for us because it is working for us. So there are a few types like increased self-management, remote working, and task forces instead of departments, which are all emerging trends and they do lend to growing businesses. One of the very famous entrepreneur, Elon Musk, talks about his business innovating. Elaborate and vocal about his production, about his not just the product. Why? Because he has made an organizational structure of that sort. Mark Zuckerberg himself describes Facebook's structure and organization being its best asset rather than just an addition or maybe a helping hand towards the business. So what are the competing philosophies which are driving these trends within the industry? Which companies have implemented the most extreme organizations, and how have they dealt with these changes are a few questions that we need to find the answers to, which I'm going to help you today. All right. So let's first understand which are the innovative organizational structures that we can follow in our startups, because we are not corporates, we are not huge successful businesses who can run on those old organizational traditional models. Okay, see, whether you work for a tech startup, a small business giant, a multinational organizational structure is the foundation. We often take it for granted. So the first thing is very important, that should be your second step after you have charted out your product or service and you know how you're going to execute. Even before hire, allow an organization to run smoothly, it also helps prescribe how an organization runs. In fact, it can help dictate the culture, values, and success of the organization, right? The digital revolution over the past 30 years and the proliferation of freelance and remote work has vastly changed the organizational structures, and they now provide alternatives to the traditional model that may be better fit with the modern knowledge work. The general model structure is without boundaries and places a heavy focus on networking and collaborating. So before, the organizational structures we used to work with used to be more of roles very well defined. कि आपको इतना 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 ही करना है. There should be a checklist. And this is all you have to do. You don't need to think out of this. You don't need to think about what the other person is doing. आप आओ, आपके cubicle में बैठो, to-do list complete करो, and your time is up and you can go home. But the general modern structure is without these boundaries, okay? And it places emphasis on networking and collaborating more, because that's the only way we can succeed and think out of the box. Here, so we are going to talk about two specifically innovative organizational structures that a few startups have already implemented and are successful. Now, the first structure. Now, if you can see in the diagram, you can see that there's only one level between the employee and the topmost level of the company. That's the founder or the director, right? Flat or self-managed structures, they have no hierarchy. They give no job titles. They grant no seniority. This is one such structure. Open channels of communication across the company allows employees instead to see all ongoing projects and join whichever they choose. So even the employees are not restricted कि आप इसी project पे काम कर सकते हैं. They are free to have a look at other projects and join whichever they want to be a part of. If an individual wants to embark on a new project other than what already is existing, it's often up to them to secure funding in the project team. So they have been giving even the employees the status of a founder. They are ready to give that much level of creativity and freedom to an employee. A flat organization, it is also known as an horizontal organization. It has an organizational structure with few levels or no levels. Either one middle manager or nobody at all. The numbers of people directly supervised by they rely less on guidance from superiors because the number of superiors are very less, right? The idea behind this is that well-trained workers will be more productive. Now, when this is the scenario, you can easily pinpoint कि ये बंदा काम नहीं कर रहा है, ये बंदा और ये इंसान और ये employee is going to go to new leaps and bounds if we give them the freedom, correct? So this is the kind of structure that is going to motivate and engage your employees. Understand, this is very important, okay? This model promotes employee involvement through a decentralized decision-making process by elevating the level of responsibility of baseline employees and eliminating layers of middle management, as we already talked about. Now, this helps comments and feedbacks to reach all personnel involved in the decision-making more quickly. Expected response to customer feedback becomes more rapid. It tends to work best for startups, though challenges may rise. So what happens is, one thing that I want to advise you guys is when you're building your organizational structure, even if you are using an innovative structure, make sure that you don't be rigid towards it. If you feel कि ये एक particular aspect हमें change करना चाहिए, please be flexible and go ahead and find a better way of doing it. Companies like Squarespace, Facebook itself, Nike, then Nike and General Electric is using this flat structure because they think that it's giving their employees the freedom to work and they feel happier, and it is giving the right kind of employee environment, work environment, correct? The next organizational structure that I would like to talk about is holacracy. It's a very new term coined by Brian Robertson. He's the creator of this organizational structure. According to him, this is a new social technology, he says. That is the management hierarchy with bosses and under them executives and under them that was hierarchy, correct? Now this is a social new technology. This is based on the static that when a city doubles in size, the productivity per person increases by 15%. So understand that if you have heard of it, all and suddenly
Harsiddhi, your voice cracked again. Can you repeat
reaches to the level of Ahmedabad. Hello?
Yeah, your voice cracked again. Can you repeat the sentence?
Okay. Yeah. So what I was saying is, this structure is based on the fact that when a city doubles in size, the productivity per person increases by 15%. So this is the statistics organizational structure is based. What does this mean is, let's say for an example, a city like Nagpur, which is not as developed as Ahmedabad, suddenly level of Ahmedabad. Do you think the people living in that city will also up their level? Obviously, yes. All right. But if that statistics is applied in a company, so when a company should be more involved, the employee would be more creative, would want to do more. But the statistics show that the opposite company grows or a company downs. So in a city, people and businesses are self-organizing. Trying to implement the same in an organization is holacracy. Because you will not see कि आज मुझे आके government बोल रही है कि तुम ये करो और तुम यही business करोगे या तुम यहीं पे job करोगे. मुझे government आके ये नहीं बोल. Correct. So why not adopt this model of a city organization into a company organization? This is holacracy. Holacratic structures are composed of teams brought together and dissolved quickly to meet organizational goals. So there are task force, you can say, for example. Various teams are being made, as you can see in the PPT. There is a super circle that contains sub-circles, and there are a few independent task-related functions that are given to individuals. So this is the kind of setup that they adopt in holacracy. As a form of self-management, holacracy's decision power resides in these fluid teams or circles, as you can call them, which helps to disperse power throughout the organization. So there is no leader in the circle. They are all equal unless and until automatically somebody becomes a leader, right? When there is a team and you're trying to execute something, somebody automatically rises as a leader and the rest support them. That's a different scenario, but nobody is coined as the leader in the team, in the task force or in the circle. Rather than a formal hierarchy, these teams have a set of simple, explicit rules that dictate how work gets done. If anyone has an issue with the current process, they can raise and resolve them at regular group meetings. So they employ regular group meetings, which help them to understand the conflicts within the group and if anything needs to be changed. And people have freedom to speak their mind out. There is nothing like if you speak ill about what I thought or my decision was, you will be fired. There is no such fear in the mind of an employee. And that helps them to think more about the organization and grow along with it. The aim is to distribute decision making while enabling everyone to work on what they do better. It still possesses some structure and hierarchy. There is some structure and hierarchy, but it's based more on circles and what people think of as departments rather than on people, correct? So there are two startups, Zappos and Medium. They have been two of the most visible adopters of holacratic method. Now, let's understand this method. There are a few 3 to 4 points that differentiate it from the normal organizational structures. One is dynamic roles instead of static job descriptions. So there is no job description. The roles are very dynamic, all right? One person can do only one thing. That is not the case in this. Second, distributed authority instead of delegated authority. Authority is not delegated. Top to bottom se delegation nahi ho raha hai. It's distributed horizontally in the group or circle. Rapid iterations. So constantly they keep on changing the organizational structure, manual or rules here and there where they feel changes need to be done. So large scale reorganization जो companies or corporates में होता है वो यहाँ पे नहीं होता है because that's not needed. They're constantly reviving themselves. Then the last differentiation is transparent rules instead of politics or alignment. So seniority पे promotion नहीं मिलता है, ठीक है? कोई already manager है उसको CEO नहीं बनाएंगे. You're getting my point? It's very transparent. The one who is working better, the one who is taking the lead, bringing new creative ideas into the team, the process are changing, and that's how they keep the rules transparent and give the promotions. This motivates everyone to put in their best because they know that everyone has a chance to get to that level rather than just their superiors, right? So this is one of the best structures that I feel is working for most organizations. Now, I really wanted to share with all of you the organizational innovations that some MNCs have also brought into picture because they have understood that it's not only the customer is the king, an employee is also the king for us, correct? So let's see how they have tried changing their organizational structures. Let's talk about Microsoft, okay? Anyone who enters Microsoft with a suit either has an interview or is a consultant, because the people who are working there are all in their free outfits. The casual style is the most visible characteristics of flexible hierarchies. Behind this is a simple philosophy. A company without rigid hierarchy is more agile. Okay. Microsoft has learned from its own painful experiences with Windows Vista. The company had gotten lost in the complexity trap. Constant coordination had made development more and more complicated. इतना organizational structure rigid और stiff कर दिया था कि डिपार्टमेंट्स एक दूसरे के साथ कोऑर्डिनेट ही नहीं कर पा रही थी, right? Already in 1999, the company was radically reorganized because of too much bureaucracy and departmental thinking that had paralyzed the ability to innovate at that time. So that's why Microsoft changed and adopted a new level, which is a mix of holacracy and flat organizational structures. Then the next company is Samsung. Now, how did Samsung innovate? Samsung has a clear strategic goal. Good design is most important way to differentiate them from other competitors. We remember when we were using those simple Nokia tablas, right? We all remember that. Now, those phones, when we were using, we thought Samsung as to be a cheap Chinese kind of product company, right? We never would shift from Nokia and try Samsung. But with the change in that organizational structure, today Samsung is one of the biggest companies that are selling its products in our country also. The CEO of Samsung said that good design is more important and it will differentiate them from their competitors. And that's the tagline that they used and went ahead with making sure that the organizational structure is dependent on this. So from being a cheap manufacturer to one of the most innovative companies in the world, he prescribed a kind of creative shock therapy for the company. Instead of continuing to manufacture the cheapest equipments, the CEO used organizational innovation and opened design centers around the world. He didn't open shops for Samsung's products. He didn't open service centers. He went ahead and opened design centers for its employees. So he first made sure that his employees had freedom to work, because only then they could acquire customers. In order to give his creative talents direct access to top management was established, right? This made it possible for the first time for employees to have their ideas heard by the executive board. To that level, what was now still an innovation barrier was the traditional South Korean culture. The only barrier that they had was their South Korean culture. There's a way how they work, the South Korean culture. So they even brought agility in that. It is rather hostile to business innovations and organizational change. The culture does not allow employees to freely express their opinions and ideas, but this was the change that they brought. In order to overcome these barriers, Samsung implemented a special type of organizational innovation in the design centers. Managers were trained in innovation, technology, and leadership. This style is different from one at headquarters. There is no dress code in design centers. Every employee is encouraged to speak his mind out and contradict superiors without fear of violating cultural rules. Freedom of hierarchy in strategically important areas of innovation was granted. The culture of operating units at the company headquarters continues to be traditionally South. Still, the operating unit at the headquarters is still going with the traditional approach, but rest of the, especially the design centers, they have changed. Now, the last company that we are going to talk about is McDonald's. Rigid structures and hierarchies are unfamiliar to McDonald's. When it comes to developing new ideas, everybody is involved as far as possible. partners who supply the raw material, employees from various areas and hierarchical levels, customers, everybody is given a part in the organizational structure to speak their mind out. As a method of organizational innovation, McDonald's created its own test kitchens and so-called noodle teams. So they created a kind of team which they termed as noodle teams, in which employees at all levels of hierarchy develop new ideas and try them out. So the employees were given that freedom. Again, at employee level, this change was brought. The hierarchies were flat. Anyone can contact anyone, discuss new ideas with anyone. For former CEO Jim Skinner, this is one of the company's competitive advantages. The result is a wealth of ideas that flow through the organization. They come from all directions. Now, if you want to see the results of this change, you can compare McDonald's maybe 5 to 6 years back, when very new they were in our country at least, and we knew McDonald's, and whenever we thought about McDonald's, we thought French fries or burgers, right? But today the items that they are actually putting on the table for us are very innovative, and this is all because Jim Skinner brought out these noodle teams and test kitchens for its employees. So this is a visible difference that we can see in Samsung, Microsoft, and McDonald's, where all of these three companies were facing issues in their product and sales. But what they did was to recognize the base of it and make a change in their organizational structures rather than just changing their sales strategy or maybe product descriptions, right? Using this information, I expect you, and this is a homework that I'm giving to you, I'm giving you names of 3 to 4 startups like yourself, all right? And I'm going to ask you to learn about them and the kind of organizational change that they have brought in their organizational structures and which help them to succeed and how. So this would be something to think about for you. Now, these 4 big startups are Zappos. Now, about Zappos, I have already talked about during the presentation, but you will find a lot more when you do a research on them. Then there is a company called Buffer. It's an online social media management company which manages your social media pages. And then there is Zapier, and then there is Basecamp. So these are the 4 startups which have made it big because of their organizational structures. So I want you to learn more about them and find out how they are innovating their structures, their strategies into your own organizational structure. Up till this, do you have any more questions for me? I would be grateful to answer them.
So, ma'am, we have a couple of questions from
yes,
the
please.
participants and panelists here. So the first question is from Ashwarya. How can one master the art of delegation in a highly decentralized organizational structure?
Okay, the art of dedication, right? See, one thing I have understood is dedication comes when you want to do something. So the first thing that you need in yourself is the passion to work. Now, आप लोग को लगेगा कि मैं बार बार अपनी एस्पेक्ट्स जो मैंने वो 10 पॉइंट्स आपको बताए थे वो रिपीट कर रही हूँ, बट इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये 10 पॉइंट्स अगर हम फॉलो नहीं करते हैं तो कंपनीज में राइट टीम नहीं आएगी, राइट? सो व्हेन यू थिंक कि आपको डेडिकेशन नहीं हो रहा है किसी एक पर्टिकुलर प्रोजेक्ट की तरफ या मे बी कोई स्टार्टअप के ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की तरफ, that means you don't like the work, or maybe you are not getting the right motivation, or maybe you are not getting the right authority to do the work. So when you want to increase the dedication of any employee or of yourself, there are only 3 things that you need to do. First, find out, are you passionate about this work, right? Second, do training to get this done. And the third, are you getting the right amount of authority, resources to try and test your ideas about this particular project? If these three things are made, difference in dedication for sure. Question. I hope I've answered the query.
Ashwarya, you can speak as well. You are on the panel.
Yeah, that would be great. I would get to know whether they are getting my point of view or not.
Ashwarya, are you able to listen? You need to unmute your mic. I think she's unable to hear. So we can take the next question, ma'am.
Yeah, please. Let's take the
next
question.
As we are running out of time, so we have already crossed the session timing, so we would have to keep some of the points and
yeah.
So the second question is from Darsh. Are skills more important or passion and belief for recruiting? And once you build a team, how to keep everyone on the same page and on the board? Can you please suggest some exercises?
Okay. So are skills more important and rather than passion, right? So I would like to say that skills are important, but passion is equally important. Now, the passion might not be to make the startup successful, but the passion might be to execute these skills and take them to another level. So that kind of passion will also work, right? Now, once you have built a team, you want to know how to keep them engaged themselves so that there's no problem in communication, correct? In the way the team works. So it's very important that you have charted out a few things in your organizational culture. When I'm talking about that, I mean that, see, these are very small things, choti choti cheezein hai. But if you do these things on a regular habit, your team will do it, and they would be more friendly with each other and work well in coordination. So a few things like maybe doing how to say meetings, daily meetings. You can, because you are such a small team and startups grow rapidly, you can do daily meetings with your employees and find out whether whatever the tasks they are given, are they being able to do it properly, what problems are they facing, क्या उन्होंने रिसर्च किया या क्या उन्होंने फाइंड आउट किया कि इसको हम कैसे बेटर कर सकते हैं. गिव देम द अपॉर्चुनिटी टू स्पीक देयर माइंड आउट, राइट, एंड डू दैट ऑन रेगुलर बेसिस. एक बार करके फिर हम भूल गए, टाइम नहीं मिला, that will not work. Make it a point that you take time out to invest in your team. Second, the second and most important, as I also said before, is making sure that your team is on the same page as you, is discussing your vision with them. Right? It may happen that they might have a bigger vision than you have. So that will help you to refine your vision also, and that will help them feel important, and that will help them feel engaged, and be a part of the vision that the company is going forward with. So again, discussing the vision and mission statements. And yes, a few activities, like I said, one is you can do group meetings on a regular basis. And the second is that you can do informal meets with your team. Like after the work is finished or the day is over, you can actually engage with your team as a friend. Don't become overly friendly, because that there has to be a distance. But then yes, you should be able to make them feel that they are equal to you and they can share their feelings with you. So that is also very important. This will also help you in judging whether somebody that you hired and you thought it was a very good hire is still a very good hire, and you are assessing them on a regular basis. The fourth thing that I would say is, yes, please make sure you do the Johari window exercise on a regular basis, because it's very important. It will help your team clear their mindset. Because हम रोज जब काम करते हैं, हम ये याद नहीं रखते कि हम क्यों इधर आए थे. We keep on forgetting our vision statement, our mission statements. So Johari window is going to make that clear for you and your team both. Correct? Can we go on to the next question, please?
I think this is it. We can, now talk about site, or Aishwarya wants to ask any more questions?
Yes,
Sorry, ma'am. Actually, earlier my screen had some technical issues, which is why I couldn't turn on the video. So actually, I wanted to know from you the how to master the art of delegation. Also, dedication is also something which I wanted to know. And another thing which I wanted to know is how to bridge the gap between an individual's goal and organization's goal.
Okay. So, see, one thing you need to understand when you're talking about delegation is delegation does not only come with responsibility, it comes with authority also. If that's the way you delegate, then the delegation will be successful, first of all. Second of all, see, again, I'm going back to what I said during the entire session is that make sure you know the hard skills and the soft skills of each and every employee in your team or each and every team member, because only then you will be able to delegate your work to them easily. Now, I think that your problem is कि मैं ये कैसे करूं, मुझे ये समझ तो आ रहा है but मैं करूं कैसे. So one of the ways that you can do this is break down the process. Okay, break down what you want to delegate. Okay, now let's say you want to delegate project A to someone. Okay, so try and find out what are the qualities that are required for a person to do this successfully. All right, without keeping anybody in mind, just think कि अगर मुझे project A को complete करना है successfully, तो इसके लिए कौन सी qualities चाहिएंगी, correct? Now, when you find that out, you have a list, a checklist. Now match that checklist with the Johari window of qualities that you prepared for your team members. The one that matches the better is your delegated person. Got it? That's one of the ways of doing it and the most simplest ways, correct? Yeah, what was your next question? Aishwarya?
Yes, ma'am. So I found the answer in the during the session when you talked about the MNCs and what kind of a structure they use. So I think a combination of a flat structure plus a decentralized version, something that suits individual services or products, I think should work. That's what I learned.
And other than this also, if you are facing any kind of queries after this, very specific to your structure, please feel free to get back to me whenever you get the chance. Okay. So I think for me, that is it. If anybody has any other questions, you can please ask me right away. And I've also shared my contact details on this slide so that it's easier for you to get in touch with me personally. Yes.
So, any of the participants or attendees have more questions?
I have a question. So I was
yes, Rahul.
Yeah, ma'am. So what do you think is the right time, and what is the perfect time to hire someone also? Because like when based on business model of a company, and once they are clear the tasks, they have to delegate them, and because just hiring will not ensure that things also get completed. So is there any such kind of some checklist which you can say, that this should be the right way team should be hired and when it should be hired?
Right. So I have already mentioned this thing during the presentation, but maybe it wasn't clear. I'll just reiterate again this point that I told you to make a list of the departments or maybe the functions that you're going to need in your organization, right? Not thinking about yourself as a startup, but thinking about yourself as a business that is running successfully. Then you narrow it down, which are the basic ones that I want now, and then you create a team, right? But then that you have to do this process on a regular basis. Like for example, when you have a vision in mind, you break it down and make a flow chart. Okay, first step ye hoga, second step ye hoga, third step ye hoga, correct? So when you have completed your first step, you need to immediately start thinking about the second step, because you will need a lot of resources to complete that step. way ahead. Way ahead when I am saying that you might need a year to finish the second step and reach the third. So before that, 1-2 years before that, you need to make sure that you have started working on it. So you as a founder are the right person to decide the time period when to hire a new employee. But I can tell you which aspects to consider, correct? So the aspect to consider is if you completed your first step and you want to build a team towards the next step and you think something is missing, that's the right time to hire, because that is when you will need the time to hire them first, second train them, and make sure they are the right fit for the team, because if it does not work, you have to repeat the entire process again. Got it? Rahul, I hope
Yes,
I've
ma'am.
answered your
Yes,
question.
ma'am. It was. Thank you very much.
Okay. No problem at all. Pleasure. Anybody else who has any questions, please?
I don't think anyone have more questions. They are thanking you
Okay.
for the session now.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. I hope they all enjoyed. This was my first session through Zoom meeting, and I'm very restrictive because I feel one-to-one connection with the attendees is very important to put your point across, but I hope I tried to put it and it came across to you. I hope so. So thank you so much for being such a patient group of attendees for me.
And I would like to thank you, ma'am, to take the opportunity and the time for all these startups and mentor these startups as well as the students and faculties who attended this session. And I would
No,
also
the
like
pleasure
to,
is all mine. Thank you so much.
and thank you all the attendees and participants for being such a great audience. And we will also come up with more sessions, so stay tuned and look out for more details on your emails and social media accounts of GUSEC for more details. So with this, I think, ma'am, we would wrap the session.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for being there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. All the best.